Charges have now been filed in a pickup pedestrian accident in Dilworth, Minnesota Thursday evening that left a 34-year-old Dilworth woman seriously injured. Michael Stulz of Moorhead has been charged with felony criminal vehicular operation, great bodily harm under the influence of alcohol. He's also facing a misdemeanor charge of DWI and petty misdemeanor charge of open bottle. The criminal complaint says, quote, Thursday at approximately 9:06 p.m., officers were dispatched to the 200 block of 9th Street Northwest in Dilworth for a motor vehicle versus pedestrian crash. Dispatch advised that a male called 911 and reported he had struck a female with his truck. When law enforcement arrived on the scene, they observed an individual lying face down in the middle of northbound lane of traffic. A male, later identified as Stulz, was on his knees talking on the phone. The deputy approached the person lying in the road. She was gasping for breath, but not responding to verbal commands. Law enforcement observed lacerations to her face and a large laceration to her lower left leg. She was loaded into an ambulance and transported to the hospital. Upon arriving at the hospital, she was taken to the trauma unit. While on the scene of the accident, an officer spoke with Stulz. The defendant had been driving a white Chevy Silverado pickup. The defendant stated he was driving home when he struck the female who was walking down the middle of the street. The officer observed the odor of alcohol emitting from the defendant, Stulz, as well as bloodshot and watery eyes. The officer observed an open bottle of Spotted Cow beer in the cup holder of the vehicle, as well as an open case of Coors Light in the back seat. Stulz failed a field sobriety test and submitted to a preliminary breath test, which had a BAC result of .104. Off the criminal complaint, .08 is the legal limit. Back to the complaint. The defendant was placed under arrest and a search warrant for a blood sample was obtained. After waiving his Miranda rights, the defendant, Stulz, stated that prior to the accident, he had been at Mills Lounge in Dilworth and consumed 3 16-ounce Coors Light beers. The defendant stated that he began driving home and was the only occupant of his vehicle. During his drive home, he was driving northbound on 9th Street Northwest in Dilworth when he hit the female victim. I'm Neil Carlson reporting for iNewZ.TV.